We are 100% seeing the United States setting up a situation in which they have to bail on peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. Today is really a massive blowup of things that were supposed to go a different way. It all started yesterday, in which, for those who don't know, today there was supposed to be, or there is, a conversation on peace talks in London between representatives from the United States, the UK, France, Germany, and of course, Ukraine. And well, it was released earlier in the week and late last week that the United States, they're going to tell Ukraine, in order to get peace negotiations to move forward, Crimea, which Russia annexed and stole and invaded in 2014, that is going to be recognized as Russian territory. Something that no other country has ever done because, realistically speaking, Russia once again invaded and then at gunpoint told everyone there, you're voting for Russia in this referendum, and that's it. And then we're done. The United States put forward a proposal a week ago in which we never technically got the full outline until now because details have gone out. And in that proposal, there are things in it that not only would Ukraine not agree to, but Russia wouldn't agree to. And so in a snapshot, I'm going to tell you the things that are inside of it and how it just doesn't make any sense. So on the Russian side, Russia would get a formal recognition of Crimea being Russian. And the other four territories that they have, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Luhansk, and Donetsk, they would have control over it, but they wouldn't recognize that territory as being Russian. So essentially, what Russia has right now, they would just keep. On top of that, the United States would say that, yes, Ukraine could never join NATO, ever. It can never happen. We're done with that. That's off the table. The United States would then say to Russia, we're lifting these sanctions, which, yeah, that doesn't make much sense. And then at the very end of it, they said that they would have an economic partnership with Russia, which potentially could be anything from natural resources to potentially even energy. We just don't know at this time. That's a lot to reward Russia for invading Ukraine, right? So what does Ukraine get out of this? Well, the lines would be frozen, so the fighting would be done. That's something. They would get a little bit of some territory. Really nothing that's out of the ordinary. It's like a little strip of land. That's it. They would get security guarantees, something that we don't even know what they are. It's something that would sign now and eventually down the line kind of figure things out. On top of that, there would be some kind of reconstruction fund in which they could help to build Ukraine, but at this very moment, we don't know where that money is coming from, nor do we know how that money can be spent. We don't know if it's coming from Russia or from the United States, which doesn't really help out. And then the kicker of everything is the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which is owned by Ukraine and Russia currently occupies. The United States would say that is ours now. Like I said before, not only would Ukraine not accept this deal, Russia would not accept this deal. Russia already said no to security guarantees inside of Ukraine, no military forces that are European inside of Ukraine, and well, that's out. And they also, remember, Russia wants the other halves of the territories which they have. For example, in Kherson, there's a lot of territory in that state that Russia doesn't have under their control, but they want the entire state, and that's it. So who in their right mind would accept this outline? The outline in which the United States presented last week and ultimately said, this is it. After this, we're done. We are out of here. And that's what JD Vance is saying here. Saying, I think it's time. I think it's a take, if not the final step, one of the final steps, which is a broad level. The party's saying we're going to stop the killing. We're going to freeze the territorial lines at some level close to where they are today. Of course, that means Ukrainians and Russians are both going to have to give up some territory they currently own. Why? And look, I'm going to get a little angry here because it seems like JD Vance doesn't know, and excuse my French, doesn't know shit. Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia has murdered and killed civilians every day for over 3 years. Why are we rewarding Russia by giving them land and making deals and releasing sanctions? Why would we do this? Because from my point of view, we're saying to Russia, hey, you invaded another country. We're tired of this shit. We'll give you everything you want if you promise to stop in Ukraine. And Russia goes, okay, sure. No punishment, no nothing. So if the U.S. is okay by us doing this, then what stops us from going after the Baltics or other countries? Nothing. There is nothing here that will stop Russia from just moving forward and heading towards another country. There's no pain, there's no pressure. Somehow, instead of us telling the people who invaded another country, you guys are horrible people, you're horrible for what you've done, we need to punish you, we're telling you it's horrible what you did, but it's okay, here's some land, will you stop? There is nothing here that puts Russia in line to stop what they're doing, which is essentially saying that down the line, whether it be in 3 years, once Donald Trump is not president, closer, even further away, we don't know, we will have to fight Russia because they will try to invade another country. And guess what? We're going to be sitting there saying, well, if only we took care of this all those years ago. I'm tired of giving Russia things that they want. I'm tired of rewarding Russia for their invasion and killing people. Russia needs to be held accountable for. And JD Vance doesn't understand that because he doesn't want to understand that. Donald Trump, in a way, I do think that he understands it. But for some reason, it's in his head, he's angry with Zelensky for the whole thing with Biden. And he's still angry with Biden. And we know all of this. We know he's angry with them because of his latest Truth Social message or tweet or truth, whatever they're calling them these days. Because it says here, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is boasting on the front page of the Wall Street Journal that Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about here. This statement is very harmful to peace negotiations with Russia and that Crimea was lost years ago under the president, well, he called it President Barack Hussein Obama, and is not even a point of discussion. No one's asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory, but if he wants Crimea, why didn't they fight for 11 years ago when it was handed over to Russia without a shot being fired? Maybe because the previous Putin puppet government dismantled the entire military in Crimea. Trump, if you fucking understood that, you would understand why they couldn't even do a single shot. It says here that the area those also houses for many years before the Obama handover were majority Russian submarine bases. The Soviet Union always had a military base there. The back and forth is very complicated, but I will explain you in the most simple terms when it comes to Crimea. Crimea itself was technically no one's land. They were their own people. The Tatars were their own people. They decided to side with Ukraine and be a part of Ukraine, not Russia, because they don't like Russia. They don't like Russia on their lands, and they would not allow Russia to have that as their territory. He says, so these inflammatory statements like Zelensky's that make it so difficult to settle this war, he has nothing to boast about. The situation for Ukraine is dire. He can have peace or he can fight another 3 years before losing the whole country. I have nothing to do with Russia, but have much to do with wanting to save, on average, 5,000 Ukrainian and Russian soldiers a week who are dying for no reason whatsoever. So tell Russia to stop. If Russia stops, no one dies. That's the bottom line here. And then Trump goes ahead and makes the same statement he made when he in the Oval Office. The statement made by Zelensky today will have nothing to do but prolong the killing field. And no one wants that. We're very close to a deal, but the man with no cards to play should now finally get it done. I look forward to be able to help Ukraine and Russia get out of this complete and total mess that would have never started if I was president. But Donald Trump was president for 4 years. In those 4 years, Putin built up his military, his men, his equipment to do this full-scale invasion. And every single time I've pointed this out, there has been many articles put online that, yes, you claim that if you were president, this would have never happened, but under your reign, Trump, guess what? Putin was building to this. He was getting ready to do this invasion, but the pandemic happened. That's the only thing that slowed them down. Not you. A global pandemic. So calm it with this nonsense. This all leads us to where we're at this very second. Russia is actually cheering on what's going on because they're saying, hey, the United States is getting ready to bail out. That is a fever dream we've always wanted. Leaving Ukraine to go, hey, look, the United States is going to bail on us because we refuse to accept essentially a surrender of our country. Which Ukraine is in the right in all of this. Why would they accept giving up all of their land and all of their resources to Russia when they did nothing wrong here? Russia invaded them. Russia should be punished. Russia needs to be punished because if we do not punish Russia now, they will do this again, and it could be on a larger scale in which my kids and your kids will have to be fighting Russia. And that's where we are right now. If we don't put our foot down now, we're going to have bigger problems down the line. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please share and repost my videos. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a thumbs up.